are missing something here.
We're not living in the same world as even if we did 5 years ago.
Founded the Aura Power, which is an app-based solution where you can basically it's more talk therapy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sphere of Success, the podcast that looks at challenge and adversity in business and how we can alchemize that to creativity, positivity, innovation, and growth. And it's always interesting to think of different themes that we can bring into our business. And as such, today we are going to be discussing from process to passion, how culture, music, and mental wellness fuel business. And this is something which is very cutting edge. And the lady that we have here today is really making great strides in this. So welcome, Priyanka Matta. Now, Priyanka is a visionary entrepreneur and creator working at the intersection of music, wellness, AI, and ESG innovation. As one of the first pioneer wellness solutions in the market, they continue to bring fresh thinking into technology, sustainability, and human transformation. Recently, they launched their debut single as an artist, further blending creativity with purpose. With expertise spanning augmented reality, IT, innovation, and holistic well-being, Priyanka is passionate about empowering people and organizations to unlock their full potential. Priyanka, welcome to the show. It's wonderful to have you with us.
It's wonderful being here, Deborah. Thank you.
And I would love for people to know, to get to know you a little bit more, what took you on your journey and the inspiration that you had to actually delve into this very innovative intersection.
Well, my background, I am from India, so that definitely like brings, myself with a rich culture and a lot of understanding of wellness just because I've always been spiritual myself. So that's been, I think that's like a big strength that I have. And I think if you are already from a smaller age, you're on this journey, then you keep on learning, you keep on learning. And I just feel something around the universe that universe keeps giving you. And I think that's something that's happened with me as well. So, I mean, being from a Punjabi family, very much from Ludhiana, it's like everyone so fond of having non-vegetarian food, really foodie and that sort of thing. I think at the age of 13, I found myself thinking a bit more than just, food is food, that okay, like why are we consuming what we are, especially if it's a meat or a chicken? And I think it was one of those things where spirituality took me to a different sphere and I became vegetarian. And I think from there, there have been mantras that have been coming to my life themselves. Sometimes something would just like come in my ears, which, maybe I've heard somewhere, and I would be like, okay, which one is it? And I want to listen to it constantly. And I think that's where music comes from as well, in regards to, there's this energy, it's just as like there's nothing else, but there's energy. You and me both are energy. And I was actually reading about something that, atoms that are in you probably were there in me at some point, and then they circulate. And and there's basically the intersection of time, space, as well as, the energy that exchange that happens. So I think once you start understanding that everything is connected, you start connecting the dots. So coming to your question, I think I felt at one point that, we're so keen as our generation to work and become somebody that we forget that, okay, wellness is as important. And I think slowly and steadily kind of, going into that affair and understanding that that's something really, really important, and finding very little being done at that point in this space. I founded the Aura Power, which is an app-based solution where you can basically it's more talk therapy because I basically experimented with myself, and I went to actually speak to a few psychologists just to see how I would feel if I'm stressed. And trust me, I did not feel better at all, you know. So for me, what makes me feel better was my question to myself. And I think if I'm talking to a friend, if I'm talking to my mother, if I'm talking to somebody close, like my bestie, that they talking makes me feel better. Sometimes talking to myself, doing those mantras, mindful meditation, eating well, even going to the gym or having an activity. So all that is the positive that we get out of. But then I think just because our lives, we've dedicated 90% of our life to work, and I think that doesn't help in the wellness affair. And so with the aura power, what we do is you can find that best friend there or the best mentor there actually, who are qualified. They have been screened by our team, who basically have maybe a degree in something. They are psychologists as well, but then in this affair, they're not tied to the legality of it, and they can basically also share their opinion because otherwise, a psychologist or a psychiatrist shouldn't do that. And within this, because it's more holistic, you get more of mentoring. And I think I have taken some cases where mentoring doesn't help you. What helps you is validation. And we don't realize that a lot of times because just validating somebody can take off the stress. And so I think there are things like that which I have realized after start working in this affair. So yeah.
And that's very interesting. Do say the name of this amazing app again, because I think our audience would be really interested in finding out more about it.
Absolutely. So you can go on the Aura Power and basically download the app and select the expert you like and then book an appointment with them, and then they would be happy to help you and work through anything you want to with yourself. I combined astrology as well as tarot reading in one affair, and all these are vetted individuals who've got years of experience in following, but you've got them in one space now. And what that does is basically that you can trust them because a lot of fakes out there. But
Mm.
then because we've vetted them, we know that, obviously not everybody would connect with everybody, but there's 99% chance that you will connect to the mentor you select and to the way you select it. So if you feel that astrology, talking to astrologer can do you well. We've got some astrologers who've been working, for example, with the Indian cricket team, or somebody who basically worked through with the royal family of England sometimes, or somebody who's basically also worked through just some of the celebrities. So we've got that caliber of people on our platform. So yeah, do have a look at it. And because that platform is called The Aura Power, my first single is also called Power. So it's all about basically positivity.
Well, I've listened to your amazing single, and it is, again, everybody, you need to download this. And again, I'm going to ask Priyanka to give that information again because her single is so powerful and yet gentle and it gets into your soul. It's just an incredible single. I love it. For your first one, it's just wow,
Thank
you really nailed it. And not what I was expecting at all. I won't do a
you.
spoiler, but it was something I'm like, oh, okay. I really loved it. So what's the name of the single again and how can people download that?
So actually, it's on every platform. But if the easiest way is to go on YouTube and type "Power" by Pia. Pia is in my name here, Pia. So "Power" by Pia, and then that comes up. What we've done is, especially for people, because that's in Hindi, very Bollywoody. But if you don't understand Hindi, we've got a translated version as well. So you can basically go to the repeat version where you can actually look at the translations as well, and I'm sure that'll make you feel amazing.
Well, I have to say, listen, get to both, get the translation and the original Hindi, because as I said, I thought it was an amazing sound and it made me feel very special. So I think that will do for a lot of people as well. And thinking about this creativity that you bring to business, what would you say to employers that are looking at their employees, their workforce, more than just commodities to get a result? How does the work that you do impact the bottom line for employers?
I think that's a really good question you're touching on, actually, on Deborah. And thank you for asking, giving me the opportunity to answer that. With our application, what we've done now, if you think about the business world, what is an employee is a means to basically get a work done, right? Just like an employer is means to pay our bills. But I think, integration is really important because that mindset, and especially with our Gen Z, that mindset's coming through because, we've seen people just like leaving jobs or not turning up. So that sense of responsibility that was with the millennials, like little less than, quite less than with Gen Z. What I've read, at least, I've not experienced it my firsthand because, we practice mindfulness and with the Aura Power kind of like coaching. So what we've done is introduced EAP, or Employee Assistance Program. With the employee assistance program, what happens is that we give you access to our application as an employer, and as an employer, your employees can actually access these consultants and these gurus, or I would call them experts, for free. And I don't call these sessions as a tarot session or an astrology session. I call them power session. So these are there to empower your employees. What that does is basically creates a separate kind of culture, because what we are trying to do is integrate the goodness of mindfulness and basically consciousness into your organization, where your employees have access to the resources they need to actually be better and be the best version of themselves. So from there, um, a lot of things happen that, for example, absenteeism, you will see the results show us that there's less holiday they are taking. They're also, they're getting less sick because, mental wellness really plays a big part in your physical wellness. So that helps, and that basically in terms of boost the amount of work done within your organization, which definitely takes you further in the road. And of course there are various other benefits, which means that you outsourcing this to us, but at the same time the amount of benefit you're getting is much more than you're actually paying us. So
And you touched upon here about some of the impact, the positive impact that having this for your employees brings to your business. I wonder if you could expand on that, if you have any real world stories that you can bring in for the audience here as to how your app has really helped from the bottom line. What are businesses seeing as a result of having your app?
um so basically we've had, I mean, there's a confidentiality clause that we signed, so I'm not gonna like name the businesses here, but what we found is that, one thing is loyalty, which is really, really important. Now, when we see employees going from one role to another, a similar role in another organization, but I think this is one benefit that basically, if they're not getting in the other organization, it's like they do value staying back. So I just feel that that's something which helps as well to kind of keeping your workforce, because I think hiring good workforce is one thing, but keeping the best workforce is another. So already, basically, if you've got a great team, because businesses are built with great teams, so keeping that great team is also one of your key missions, as basically an entrepreneur, and that's what the Aura Power helps in. So
Yes, and it's very expensive to keep hiring. And then when your knowledge bank goes, one, it's going to likely the competition. So you've trained people just to train them up to leave to go elsewhere. And once you have that, you can really build a very powerful organization over time with people being able to stay, reduce your costs, and then create from the knowledge that they're gaining over the years that they're with you. Because I think it takes almost 12 months to actually get the optimum amount of productivity, knowledge, innovation from somebody from when they first started. So it's quite a long time. And then if that goes, you've got to start the process all over again. And I think that your app is absolutely fantastic in helping people to think, right, this organization is providing me with the opportunity to do this confidentially on my own through this application and then have the support that I need to be able to, as you say, be the best version of myself. And then you see absenteeism go down, you see engagement while at work, because I know I've been there. Sorry for any past employers when you've checked out and you're kind of just going through the motions and you're not really engaged, and this can actually help. And mindfulness practices really do keep us in the present and give us that energy, I believe, that we can really do more with less and find that we're accelerating what we're doing. I know that from the mindfulness practices that I do, that I'm far more calm, which means that I've got more energy to give and that I can take on more because I know that I'm resilient enough with that training and meditation and mindfulness practice to be able to take on more and not get stressed out about it, which I think is an amazing opportunity to give your employees and your members of the team to actually do that.
We are missing something here. So I think we're just talking about spirituality and mindfulness, but what we do is mind, body, and soul.
Mm.
So with the mind, it's mainly um, like talking about psychologists, psychiatrists, we have everyone there, you know. Then body, we also have Tap Physio. So you can go on tapphysio.com and basically look at our that organization. So we have experts which, especially in the UK, if your employees want physiotherapy, we can basically, we're there to do workshops within the organization, or basically also your employees can actually set up online sessions if you have a membership of this application. And then soul, so where soul comes, it's basically again the spiritual gurus or experts which are there on our app. So basically, whether it's astrologers and that sort of thing, they can be talked about. I think what we want to bring in more things with, because mind, body, and soul is basic, but at the same time there are other things. For example, music. You know, we're working on that at the moment. There would be mindful activities, but also there would be games to sharpen their mind. There are certain innovative things we're talking to, and I think there's some professors in some universities, which I'm not going to disclose at the moment, we're talking to, where that will also become part of the app and integrate. So that basically takes our, life longevity longer. So that's something which we are working on, and that's where the ESG aspect also comes into play, because ESG is not just about environment, it's also about humanity. So yeah, this is a lot happening on this.
It sounds very interesting, and thank you for absolutely making your point very clear. This is mind, body, and soul. And I think we're very blessed over the last few years to be able to speak openly about things of spirituality, about the soul, without people thinking that it's all kind of this woohoo thing, etc.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
I think that Gen Z, you're closer to that generation than I am, but from what I can gather, they are looking at something as an employer as an holistic opportunity that suits their life and their lifestyle and what they believe in, and that it should be congruent to who they are in essence, as opposed to a round peg in a square hole, but I do it anyway because it pays the bills. And that's what's defined for me. Perhaps parents say you need to be a doctor or an engineer or something. But now I think younger generation are taking this up and saying, you know what, we want to be more in control of what we do. We want to be in things that are in synergy with our culture, with our belief systems, with how we go as an holistic individual into the workplace. And that's a very different guise from when I was at work. You weren't there to think of yourself. You were there to work for the company's success. And
True.
now I think there's a different shift change to actually think, you know what, this has all got to be much more holistic so that we feel that the companies support our values, so that we can support the organization's values. Would I be right in that? Because I know I'm a little bit distance from it just from a purely age bracket, but this is kind of like the resonance that I'm getting at the moment.
But let me just put things in perspective, especially from a UK perspective, because my team did some research and, like what we found is that 1 in 6 workers, they do suffer from depression. And this is after COVID data, you know. Also, 1.3 million people, they are off sick due to depression and anxiety, which is a huge cost on an organization. And then almost 40%, you know, workforce it's basically gone up and it's increased from before reporting mental wellness issues or mental health issues as compared to 17%, which was before. So it's like a huge increase in mental health challenges. And so I think what our app does is basically that we try and bring back productivity, by taking off that stress, by validating validating especially the employees and individuals, but also trained CEOs and that sort of thing. We do provide specialist training in that regards, and you talk to special experts if you're a CEO and if you need that sort of training. And then what that does do is lead to decreased efficiency and uh, de- sorry, lead to increased efficiency and decreased absenteeism. Sorry, it's like, yeah.
Well, absolutely. And I think that it's very important to think about the cultural shift that the world is experiencing at the moment, because I see this, and I'm sure people would agree with me that, we're not living in the same world as even if we did 5 years ago. Things are changing, things are changing significantly. And that brings me on to the point that you made before about AI. Do you feel that AI, and in this instance, it can help people's well-being because you've bought the AI app, you've got that within your technology, etc. But how can AI help people with their overall wellness?
I think just touching on the employee behavior, attrition was one of the things which I was talking about before, that, people leave one organization, go to another. Now, I think the insecurity within the employees, on the other hand, is that AI is going to take over their jobs, and earlier it was basically outsourcing, now it's AI. But now coming to mindfulness, I think AI can definitely help, but it's just like we are creating that sort of AI at the moment. So there's limited information I can give you at this point in time. But what we are doing now is we are using AI as our mentor. A lot of the time we would ask AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Copilot, or any one of these applications, about advising us on various decisions that we're making. And what the risk that brings in is basically data, because, Microsoft is getting that data, or Google is getting that data, or ChatGPT team is getting that data. So I think what we are doing is basically we're trying to build something where your data is still secure and it's not going to be sold or utilized or used, from a commercial perspective, firstly, and against you, secondly. So, we want to make sure that the data is deleted periodically, but at the same time, then it's like we need to have the data to a certain extent to utilize, and the app should know you as well. But yeah, we are trying to find a balance between that. But soon you will see that we come up with the solution very, very soon. So yeah, where you can use AI as your mentor as well.
It's very exciting. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? The benefits that this can bring us. And I've embraced AI because I know that it's here to stay and it's only going to advance. And so I'm using it on a daily basis, a lot actually now. And I've found that it has assisted me cutting down my time on my workload significantly. What used to take me an hour, I can do in less than 5 minutes now. And that's got to be good for our mental health and well-being. And our bodies obviously store stress. So there's a physical ailment issue as well that also helps with. My one would always be that I would get an upset stomach if I was nervous or a bit agitated, or something would go wrong with my throat, and I feel like I got a sore throat because that's where I held the energies of stress and anxiety. So now I'm free of that, which is brilliant, absolutely firing on all cylinders. So in a way, I think AI has really helped me to improve my mental wellness and my resilience. And also, in many instances, I'm asking questions, etc., of it, and I'm finding that as a small business owner, that I'm getting different viewpoints come through that it can provide me with. So it's expanded my opportunities to actually think about what others might be thinking in different scenarios, which I always think is good. And then you mentioned connectivity. I feel that it's connecting me with everybody out there in a field. Perhaps if I'm asking it for certain things on research topics, etc., it's making me feel connected to those people that I'm putting that prompt and it's coming back. So that's interesting, that connectivity piece that you've mentioned. One of the things I'd like to think about as well on that basis is you mentioned again, and I believe what you've said about the energy and that we're all energy and
Yeah.
that we're all interconnected. How is what you're doing with your incredible app, with the music, with the ESG, the AI, and that intersection, how is it helping in a broader context for employers and employees themselves to get that feeling of connectedness, that they don't feel loneliness is a huge issue in the world right now? How is it helping to make people understand that actually I'm as connected to myself as I am to other people around me? Because it's a new concept for a lot of people.
Sure. So I think we need to basically look at this application and think of, spheres of life. So each sphere of life is different. So it's like if you're a student, you want something. And so it's not that just we're not just talking about employers here, because that's like a huge part of your life you already lived and then you go and work, correct? But I think in the learning years also, it is really important to practice that. And as I said, when we started talking, that I learned this and that was like divine for me. But I think introducing this in an early phase would really help a lot of students. So what I've done is basically we've worked with organization working on agentic AI. So what we can do is basically utilize this application and put this on basically their own internal systems, where although it's our system running at the background, but we're white labeling it for them. And then a school can have it, but then kids have limited access to the answers they're getting, so they are safe for them. That's one thing. And secondly, if we go to the next affair, which is basically A levels or university, then we have agents that we can create specifically for them, again white labeled, or we can have our app there, where one is the AI aspect of it, and second is we can curate those specific professionals that would help them. So not every school will believe in that astrology can help. So they would believe that, okay, mentors can help. And we've got also mentors. For example, if someone's interested in films and they are just, a student, they want to talk to somebody who's had that background, they can go on the app. They can look at what mentor, or somebody wants to be a doctor. There would be these, exemplary people that are there already who can guide them. And this is something brand new. This has not happened before. So that's something which I can say that we want to infuse into the society as like one of the base things. And that would connect everyone, because if you think about it, we don't want everyone connected to everyone. We want the right people and right connections, because then there's the right exchange of energy, and that's what this app is doing.
That's very interesting that the younger generations, schools, universities, colleges can actually start to adopt this and help students in those formative years to actually benefit from having this app and then being streets ahead, I have to say, because that was one thing. I mean, things like freedom and we could go out when I was younger and not have to worry about X, Y, and Z, etc. That was great. And I was talking to another podcast guest just recently about, going out into the countryside. I was blessed. I lived in a rural place in England, and it was great. I could jump on my bike or I could go for a lovely walk, and it could be completely on my own. And I would go out all day and come home when I was hungry. And that's not really the case now for children. So that independent learning, etc., as you are on your own and you're finding your feet with your friends, etc., to some extent has been redefined. But what nobody talked to me about was my mental health, my physical health, my soul. That never got
Well, health, I would
discussed.
say spiritual health, you know? So
Yeah, never ever got discussed. People would not have understood even the concept of that, not within the sphere of people that I was dealing with anyway, that I had interaction with, not my school, not my parents or my friends or anything like that. So what you're doing now is you're going to be helping the younger generation to actually normalize this opportunity to grow in mind, body, and soul so that you've got this at a young age to
yes,
really set you. And then these awful figures that you're seeing with the depression, the rates of depression, I know that suicide, unfortunately, is on
yes.
the increase as well. I think that that could have the additional benefit of reducing those figures and then giving much better quality of life to the people that you're engaged with in actually supporting. Would you say that that's something that you've thought about that you think would bear out from what the app is actually going to do?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that reminds me of one of the jokes, you know, that we there were two characters talking, and then they said, "Oh, what are we thinking about doing on Mars?" And then the other guy says, "Oh, we're gonna have humans on Mars." And like, "Oh, we're not even able to handle Earth because it's in bad shape, so we're gonna make Mars in bad shape now." So it's like, yeah, and I was laughing and I was like, that is so true that, you know, if you think about it, humans put waste even in space. I mean, there's basically a picture of Mother Earth, which you look and it's so beautiful and everything. But now, if you look at the real picture, you'll see something else. You'll see satellites roaming around it. You'll see planes, you know, flying from one place to another, or rockets, or, you know, like that's the sort of live feed you get. It's not the same anymore. It's basically very different to what it was like 50 years ago. Now, that is development. Of course, that's a development. But at the same time, it's like that we have to be mindful of what are we doing with that in regards to, you know, like giving it a bit of respite of, you know, if because I'm sure in a few years' time, space clutter would be a big thing. At the moment, we're talking about just preserving the earth with ESG, you know. So that's again a futuristic thought, you know. So as you call me a visionary, I'll take that as a compliment. But that's something I've been thinking about as well. But on the other hand, um, with us, you know, using this spirituality and mindfulness at an early age, that basically creates a brighter future and better human beings, definitely. So coming to the app, there's so much. And you know, I was talking about surveys of life, so going back to that, now we spoke about student life, but you know, then we've talked about employers already. Now elderly, I think what is not happening there is the physical health. We're so much more reliant on NHS. I mean, and I mean, going outside India, sorry, outside UK. So in UK, we are really reliant on NHS. But being from India, what I see is that there's not as much physical activity that people are doing outside the UK. Just I'm just talking general now. It's like physiotherapy or physical therapy is something really important, which we had a patient, she was 94. She could drive, she was perfectly fine, very, very, very slim and very, very delicate, I would say. And it was really nice to kind of meet somebody really active at that age, which means it's possible she have been practicing that and she had the right mindset. So we do get examples, and we've got a lot of examples of people after like 100 or so, they're physically fine. But I think we need to practice that. And I think with this application, also what we can do is do um, everyday sessions, which would be different. It can be different sessions every day, same thing, depending on, who wants to do what or who wants to choose what. We can have like a few sessions, running together. And I think it's like on employers that they need to push this thing. Because, when we talk about employment, why are we doing pension? The reason we do pension is we talk about a life. We're not talking about just in employment for a few years. The system has thought about that an employee would come in and stay till 60, 65, then retire and then start getting pension. Similarly, who else is going to think about their physical well-being? It's the employers. It's the system that we have to introduce that in. And so basically, our app can really help in that. There is a lot more work to be done in this affair. There's a lot more, and I know a lot of more people are working on this, and maybe a lot of people are going to get ideas from what I'm saying. But for me, I want to give it out to the universe because it's all good for the humanity to actually, go to basically the next level. And I think the my next step, what I want to do is basically introduce languages, because thinking about Europe, there's like Spanish, there is French. There's like that's what they, obviously they use English, but I think that's something which we want to introduce next, is basically cover the whole European area and the US, to actually basically make sure that we are a truly global organization. So that's what we're thinking at the moment.
Well, I think that's the most amazing place to stop because I think you're poised to go global. I think this is something which doesn't matter which country you're in, I think everybody can benefit. And the fact is, the demographic can span from the very young up to the very old. And I think that that's an opportunity for people perhaps who are in care as they get older, uh, NHS for themselves to get involved in the app as well, because it's never too late or too early to get involved in something which is going to help bring that quality of life and actually the enjoyment and the engagement so that whatever we're doing, whether we're at play, whether we're at work, whether we're at downtime and we're relaxing, we can use this app to really enhance and optimize what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we're feeling. So thank you, Priyanka. It has been wonderful to have you on the show.
It's been great, and I hope everyone, basically taps into their own aura and energy and basically, uses tap the aura power as an application and basically enhances their quality of life. And to start with, listens to the power, the song which we have launched, and basically, give us feedback, just tell us what they're feeling as well. So, but thanks, Deborah. It's been really nice catching up with you. And
Oh, it's great. And just before we close, how can
Mhm.
people get hold of you? Because I think there's going to be a lot of interest in what we've spoken about, your new single, the music, the great app.
Well, I think to start with, they can book a session on the app with me. I'm calling myself Aurora there, just because I just feel that the waves and the energy. So I just basically call myself Aurora. It's like they want to bring that light in. They're just like Aurora. So book a session with me. Um, one thing that also says is that you don't have to, sometimes someone's a celebrity level, they don't want anyone basically like starting to text them on social media. So you can change your name on the application. We do allow you to do that. But yeah, I mean, book a session with me on the app or drop me a message on LinkedIn as Priyanka.
Oh, thank you. That's Priyanka Matta, and all the details will be down in the description, everybody. So don't worry if you've not got that today, but it's Priyanka Matta. And I just wish you every success because I love looking at this new innovation that you have, just
Thank you.
making sure that you're always looking, as you said, there's new things coming on. It's always going to be evolving. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. And everybody watching, be in touch with Priyanka because I think she's got a lot of wisdom to talk about and some insights. You can tell she's passionate, totally passionate about what she's involved with, and rightly so. So thank you everybody for watching and listening. It's been a pleasure to have you join us today and be successful. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye bye now.
Thank you.